Hi, this is Bill Fitzgerald, Vice President of Growth and Ecosystems for SandboxAQ, coming to you live from our studios in Davos. I have Jesus Mantas here today, and very excited to hear about your amazing career that has put you quite literally in the intersection of something that we care deeply about here at Sandbox, and that is computational capabilities, solving problems in biology and solving problems with chemistry. So please, if you would, just tell us a little bit about your background and what brought you here to Davos.
Yeah, I thank you for having me here. It's been great this week. This is my first Davos since I retired from IBM. Mm-hmm. So I led the business consulting unit of IBM. I was in IBM for 23 years and I retired early. So my background is I was educated as a software and telecommunications engineer in Spain. I was born, raised in Spain. Came to the US and for the most part my career has been of management consulting. So I started in Ernst & Young, 3 years. Then I joined PricewaterhouseCoopers. Had a very fast career, made it to partner by 2001. And then 2002, IBM bought the PricewaterhouseCoopers consulting of unit so IBM bought PwC consulting unit. That's how I ended up in IBM, my career there. But I've always been very interested on the biology side of the brain, if you want, like the how the neurons work. And fast forward 2019, I was privileged to actually join the board of biotech, one of the leading neuroscience biotechs. And so I got to see and I got to actually fully appreciate how impossibly complex biology actually is. And once I got to that, and I spent a lot of time with the research and the science side and the development side and all of that, and everybody knows that in developing medicines, the yield is very, very, very low. Mm-hmm. Is from having to figure out a biology target to then figuring out a compound that will bind to that target effectively to either regulate or dysregulate, amplify or stop like certain reaction that is at the core of a disease. That's it's almost mathematically impossible kind of problem. It happens to be one of those problems that is a really good fit for things like neural networks. Is you just need a ton of data and a ton of compute. So what I think is exciting about where we are right now is this exponential of the massive amount of compute with all of these new algorithms, where now we can dare to take some of these things, and I think companies like you guys have seen this, is you can actually start daring to learn some aspects of biology and then predict either the strength of a bond or predict whether a compound is going to do better than other compounds. And I think that is where I'm actually pretty excited in how to find the right applications at the right pace that can accelerate the pace of going from either understanding a disease, developing a medicine that can address that disease, and then get it to the clinic.
And I think you sit on an amazing cross-section. You mentioned Biogen, but international fragrances. There's the biology, which is supremely complicated, and there really is this coalescence of known and unknown properties having to come together across the aisle, if you will. Can you tell me a little bit about how you think, as a board member of those two companies, where the next opportunity is for AI?
Yeah, I think we mostly can understand and predict the curve of saying, okay, like some type of problems, even if today is not practical to get there, then the idea is like, well, how soon do we predict that this combination of better algorithms, better data, the ability to create your own samples, and one of the things in biology that is if you want the holy grail is this, what they call cell perturbation models, is can we prove to ourselves that if you do something to a given cell, you have a predictable reaction, right?
And an explainable.
And can you isolate it and can you prove it, and can you prove it over and over and over again? And then once you have that, if you want synthetic model where you have like predictabilities, like when you do this you get that, then that's extremely valuable, because you can then predict, you know, the next set of reactions through that, right? Think of it, it's like almost an infinite complexity every time you add a new atom, and you know, it's like the forces that moves all this thing, the timing that you do it, the sequence is like very complicated. And the fact that these models got good enough to start predicting, this sequence is gonna fall this way. It would be great if at some point in the next 5 years we can have an AI model that would say, I can design for you an antibody that will bind there that maybe nature hasn't created yet. And there, think about it, not only you have like the complexity that I'm explaining, but then even though like you and I are both human, we are uniquely different. Like so a medicine that can be good for you may be bad for me. It may depend on many other factors, not only in the actual genetic makeup, but the environment factor. I think there is a big element of application as well of AI, of really helping with that side of creating, you know, or accelerating that cycle of figuring out what are the better patients, how to find those patients. Sometimes there's rare diseases where we know exactly what the disease is, but there's so few people that how do you find them, right?
Yeah, and one of the things what you're describing there is the precision medicine paradigm, right? And I just think there's such an opportunity to correlate what, you know, oftentimes like the phenomic health of an individual, the full body perspective of an individual, from a cellular composition to lifestyle choices, you know, and then what is the right therapy for them. And there's been so much time lost for people as they've assessed the ability for each medicine in their disease to give them, you know, the positive outcomes, and I'm hopeful that AI can help to connect those dots. I'm grateful for leaders like you that are thinking that way, we're just excited to get to work, I think.
I think there is something, as I said, I mentioned a lot of the aspirational side, but what's like here today, and it's unquestionable, is let's say that you have figured out like the right compound, and then you have figured out how to find the patients. But now there is all of this evidence that you have to provide, insane amount of data, hundreds and hundreds of documents, millions of pages that you have to go to the agencies, the European agency, the FDA, to basically prove, you know, this new drug is valid and is proven for this disease. And there, that's like here today. These models can be trained in how to do that well, and they can take a lot of the significant work. That's why sometimes even when you have like the drug, it can take you 6 months to just prepare the package to get this approved. So imagine if you can compress that by 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. Not only is good from the perspective of revenue, but like you really want to get that medicine to patients as quickly as you can.
One of the things that we're excited at Sandbox is the ability to do that through knowledge graphs and other things that can help be packaged up with those regulatory components, so that you can ground in those physical truths of the way that science was generated historically.
And is really important. I mean, that's a non-negotiable to your point.
Yes.
It is a non-negotiable to be unequivocal on that. On that lineage of the data and the verifiability and the trust. I mean, many of the AI challenges that are portrayed as AI challenges, they're actually not AI challenges, they're a data challenge. So think about it, in the way I think about it is, imagine AI is a jet engine. If you put like great, like high quality fuel on that jet engine, it's gonna do a fantastic job moving that plane. If you put like crude that you haven't really refined, well, that engine, you're gonna be saying this engine doesn't work. It's really not the engine, it's the data. So a lot of the work, a significant amount of the work, and I think is what I think every board needs to understand as well, really is very foundational work in creating those data pipelines in a way that they can really fuel like incredible engines that we're creating now.
Yeah, that's the huge part of human in the loop, right? I mean, we need to, good quality data has to inform these models. Well, Jesus, this was wonderful. Thank you so much for the time here today.
Thank you for hosting me here, and thank you for letting me learn a lot more about what you guys do.
This was fun. Thank you.